Well, good morning, and a pleasant, good Monday morning. Yes, indeed, the sun did come up today. I mean, it's a beautiful sunny day here in Cincinnati, Ohio, but a lot of long faces walking around. We welcome you to Dialed In. I'm Tom Brenneman, joined by Luke Brenneman here in just a moment, and of course, our producer extraordinaire, Casey McAllister. Our show is presented by UDF and Encore Technologies. We come your way twice a week, and again, we're nailing this down now. We're live on Mondays, okay, 9:05. That's on Chatterbox Sports. We'll post later in the day on the Believe Network. And our second day is Thursday live at 12:05. You can find us on YouTube, Chatterbox Sports page. Hundreds of you here already. You can download us anytime, anywhere. Just search Dialed In with Tom Brenneman and you'll be dialed in. Well, look, one thing I have learned on my career and job through the years is that you guys are a lot smarter than me on most of this sports stuff, okay? So I need your help deciding what to think about yesterday's Bengals loss to the Ravens. Casey texted Luke and me a question yesterday. Who do you blame for this loss? It's a fair question. Now, I have never called once in my life, nor will I ever call in my life. I've never called for someone's job because I've been fired. I know what it's like to be fired, and I'm not going to do it, and I never will. Having said that, when, say, you own a business or work in a business, you must ask questions as to why your business is not successful. The Bengals are in the football business. They are 1-4. They score 38 points against a Baltimore defense yesterday, but they give up 41. To me, they look like they play not to lose instead of playing to win. Now, is it ownership not spending freed up cap space to get another pass rusher? Because outside of Hendrickson, nobody's there. Is it having the smallest scouting department in the National Football League? Is it the people who choose the players in the draft? Is it the defensive coordinator's fault? Is it the head coach's fault? Is it all the above? You tell me. So, guys, let's get right at it. Luke, I think, I don't know if I've seen you other times more upset, but you were extremely upset about the loss yesterday. Now that you've had, some time to kind of digest it, what are the things that stand out to you? What's on your mind about this whole thing?
I mean, the biggest thing that makes it sting the most is the fact that you beat the Bengals and played pretty much perfect football, at least from an offensive perspective. I mean, you beat the Ravens and played near perfect football for 3.5 quarters. You won 3.5 quarters of that football game. You won 3 full quarters of a football game in Kansas City. This is an NFL offense that has more points than the undefeated Minnesota Vikings. I mean, the more and more you read on Twitter as a Bengals fan, it makes you sick this Monday morning. And this is a reoccurring feeling. The fact that this roster and this offense, with the amount of success they have had week in and week out now for 3 weeks in a row, has won 1 of their first 5 games, it really is defeating. If this schedule wasn't as bad as it is, then there would be absolutely no hope whatsoever. However, we have the Giants on Sunday Night Football. You can't even count anything as a win because the way that these teams are just going right down this defense's throat right now, the offense is going to have to score 30+, and that's still proving to not be enough.
I can't believe, Casey, when I sat there and watched that yesterday, and look, we can dissect, and we're going to dissect a lot of different things. But, one of the things that I just kept sitting there, and I watched every play, just like you guys did and most of you did at home. I mean, I'm into it. I want the Bengals to win. It was exciting. You're up 10 in the 4th, right? Chase busts one on that wide receiver screen, and you're going, oh, boy. I don't know if I've ever seen more players wide open like they were open in that game against the Bengals defense. I don't think Lamar had to thread more than 2 or 3 throws the entire game. You could have thrown the ball to most of their receivers. I mean that.
Yeah, it was not a good showing. It was not a good showing at all for the Bengals defense. I do think, though, looking at it objectively, in my opinion, that that Lamar after this game is just one of a kind. I mean, that final touchdown that he had to make it a 3-point game there at the fourth quarter, where he's scrambling and he's avoiding pressure from Sam Hubbard. He basically breaks 3 tackles, throws the ball while going out of bounds to Luke Likely in the end zone. It was just like a buzzsaw straight to this defense, who I thought played good at times, and then just, like you said, they gave up so many just easy completions, easy throws. They sold out to stop Derrick Henry for most of that game. He only had like 30 or 40 yards until he busted that 40, 50-yard run there at the end of the game. But, yeah, I mean, this defense is atrocious. Joe Burrow was right. He was going to have to play perfect in order to win the game. And when it came down to crunch time, he made one mistake.
Yep.
And it was a costly one. It ended up giving them a chance to get back into the game when they had a chance to close it out. And we're here today. And, I mean, all this could have been a moot point if, just the snap wasn't botched, if the holder just holds on to that ball a little bit, because I think you and I both agree Money Mac usually makes those.
He does, but you're asking him to kick 53-yard field goals.
Right.
I mean, you and I talked about this at length before the show today. Luke, I sit there and I look, I'm not comparing, okay, that would be insanity. I'm not comparing the combination of Bill Belichick, Tom Brady in any form or fashion to the combination of Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor. But let me ask you just one simple question. If the goal is to be the best, the very, very best, and Belichick and Brady own every record there is in the history of the league as far as quarterback and head coach, right? Wins, Super Bowls, division championships. Nobody's going to ever touch that combination. They are the gold standard. And a lot of people got on me yesterday. I made the comment that they were playing not to lose rather than playing to win. Zach Taylor was the guy, Luke, 2 years ago in a loss, who said, I took the ball out of my best player's hands. Do you think Bill Belichick with Tom Brady, even the last possession of the regulation, when they had the sack, and a minute 23 to go with 3 timeouts, do you think Belichick and Brady, do you think Reed and Mahomes, do you think they're huddling up and deciding we're going to shut it down now? We're not even going to try to get in field goal range? Oh, and then in the overtime, we get the turnover. We're going to run the ball 3 plays in a row and ask our kicker to kick one from 53 yards. To me, that is losing mentality. Your thoughts, Luke?
Well, I think that the most blatant losing mentality is running the ball 3 times in overtime. I tweeted out, you don't pay a quarterback $55 million per year to go out there and throw for 400 yards, 5 touchdowns, have a near perfect QBR. He was the runaway best quarterback in the National Football League yesterday before that game was decided in a win or a loss. And you're asking you're pretty much banking on your kicker from 53. And Zach in the presser is like, yeah, that's, Evan makes those kicks. It's like, well, why don't you bank on your bank to pick up 1 or 2 first downs? And you can say what you want that Joe Burrow apparently checked out of a first down pass play. That still continues to make no sense to me, because if you're checking out of a first down pass play, then you also didn't throw the ball or attempt to throw the ball on 2nd and long and 3rd and even longer. That Bengals rushing attack made no sense. They're lining up under center and handing it to a smaller speed back who is better in space. You don't have Derrick Henry behind you to pick up 4 or 5 just up the gut with his right shoulder. Chase Brown was going nowhere that entire drive. The Ravens completely stacked the box. It was the weakest form of football I've ever seen in a game, in the same game where the offense that you did that with literally could not be stopped, whether it was fly patterns, screen patterns, getting the running back out in actual space. I mean, it was blasphemy that Zach Taylor made that decision. The one in regulation where you don't call a timeout and you get sacked on first down, I think that at that point, I don't hate the call. Because at the end of the day, that decision still led to the Bengals having another chance to win the football game. If you look what happened in Houston yesterday, the Buffalo Bills did something a little similar where they took 3 shots inside their own 5-yard line and ended up having to punt the ball back with 15 seconds left and then lost on a 60-yard field goal. That's when your job can actually get taken from you. But the fact that this team is playing scared football in a game where they put up 40 points is completely ridiculous and just adds to the frustration.
I don't know. I just don't know what to think. I mean, all great points. Man, I mean, I just, look, I give Paul Dehner Jr. a lot of credit here, and we were talking about this beforehand. He was asking the question, basically the case he asked of Luke and me last night in a text thread. Who do you blame for this? Okay, and we got plenty of time to get into that later. But he made a point that was very interesting. And this is hard for a lot of Bengals fans to swallow. To be honest with you, in a lot of ways, it's hard for me to swallow, but these are the facts. And I'm only sitting here giving the facts. I'm not giving any opinion. I'm not endorsing this. Before I say it, I want somebody and everybody to understand. I am not picking on a player or a side of the ball. Everybody has a hand in this. And that's the point he made in the article, is that in The Athletic, the defense, yes. The front office, yes. The drafting, yes. But then he says, despite all the offense did on Sunday, the offense deserves some criticism as well. It's a third game this year where the offense had a chance to drive for the win or to seal a win and didn't. New England, they got the ball down 6, 3:04 to go. 3 plays, 5 yards. Kansas City, chance to run out the clock. 7 plays, 17 yards, punt. Mahomes takes him down the field, game-winning field goal. Yesterday, they have 4 straight touchdown drives. Looked unstoppable. But the last 3 times the offense had the ball, you had interception, 3 and out, 3 rushing yards in overtime, and miss a field goal. So, look, nobody's sitting here beating down. They were unbelievable. Burrow is just unbelievable. But those are facts. So everybody has a hand in this thing. And, I got to be honest with you, though. And some people are going to get all upset. Why didn't Joe see? This is the stuff that happens. People, you're saying, why can't he score every drive? I didn't say he had to be perfect. I didn't say it.
Joe said it.
He said it, not me. So let me ask you this. Luke, I still think they have a chance. I got to be honest. I think they still have a chance to get in the playoffs. You look at the AFC right now. The best wild card record in the AFC is 3-2, and that's Denver and Pittsburgh.
I mean, they absolutely have a chance. It's such a long season. But the thing that really worries me is this defense. Obviously, the offense is really good. They're actually dominant when you look at the numbers. The fact that Burrow's on pace to break franchise records and this team's 1-4 is disgusting. But just specifically looking at the defense, I don't know about you guys, and obviously we'll go to you about this topic after this. I just think the defense looks slow. They look old to me. They look uninterested. And they're getting taken into offense's dream situations. When the Bengals get a team to third down, it's 3rd and 2. It's 3rd and 3. It's very manageable third downs that you prepare for on the road to pick up and convert. If you're having your defensive ends consistently take stiff arms to the face that are knocking them down and ending their pass rush by an 190-pound quarterback, I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. Rashad Bateman on a 3rd and goal inside the 10-yard line is completely wide open with someone without 20 yards away from him because we're ball watching. And that really is the sign of a tired defense who isn't engaged. And the biggest thing is nobody's holding each other accountable because it's a lot of these older guys. Even when the game was over after McPherson missed the kick in overtime, it's Von Bell hiding behind a linebacker to not make a play on Derrick Henry. Boom, 65-yard run, and that's all she wrote. So the fact that you're not going to stick your neck in there in overtime after that game, after you've already gotten shelled for what your offense has done for you. I think that's more of an accountability issue. It's an effort issue, an overall team morale issue, because there's some issues going on inside of that defense that aren't just on the field of play if guys aren't playing hard and they're getting beat this bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you all the way on that, Luke. I think that there is a leadership issue on defense. I think that there's a talent issue. And it's not just I'm going to bring this up, and I don't want people to freak out.
Well, they're going to freak out because you can't say anything bad.
Because the safety room has been abysmal since we let Jesse Bates walk out the door, and that's not the only guy we lost. We lost DJ Reader. We didn't efficiently replace Awuzie. Like there's a lot of talent deficiencies that we've lost over the years, including guys like Ogunjobi that we just haven't been able to figure out how to replace that, and it's caught up with them. And we sit here today and we ask ourselves what's going on, and you look around and it's, like you said, slow. Doesn't look like they're very committed. Looks like they're making some business decisions late in that ball game. It's really just poor. It's just poor management on the team. Lou Anarumo, his scheme at this point, he's had to completely throw it out the window for the most part. He's been dialing up blitzes like left and right like crazy. He's never used to do that. And now you see what happens. You give up all these big splash plays because you're trying to get to the quarterback. You can't. Lamar makes a play. And it's just a continuing cycle of just poor decision-making, which has resulted to this now.
Well, and terrible drafting. I mean, We'll get into that after we let Luke go. Luke, I know you got to get to class. Any final thoughts from you before we let you get out of here?
Yeah, I just think that this really does bring up a fear factor when you look at the future of the Cincinnati Bengals, because offensively, you're going to lose T. Higgins next season, and I don't want to look forward to next season. But this loss yesterday, in my opinion, almost stung more than the Super Bowl for me, because the Super Bowl is like, this is a Cinderella story. This is just Joe Burrow's second year of being healthy, and look what we have in front of us in Cincinnati. Everything was so euphoric until a late pass interference call on Logan Wilson. The game ends. We don't pick up a fourth down, and the season's over. For this, it's now the second time in 5 weeks where you've had a game, you've lost it, and it really feels like the future and everything that this season was supposed to be is turning out to be the complete opposite. And I think the fear factor comes from the roster perspective. I think that Chase Brown is a very good running back, but Zach Moss was beat up yesterday. We don't have a great running back room. The offensive line has had its struggles. Mims goes down, not looking great. Then you're left with Burrow and Chase because Higgins going to walk next year. And this defense, the defense makes no sense. It's a combination of veterans who were stud Pro Bowlers in their prime and a bunch of just freakishly young dudes who half of them are playing positions they didn't even play or get drafted to play in the National Football League. So if that's the case on defense, it sounds like a reconstruction is very needed and well on its way when you look at some of the age of these linebackers. Pratt is getting old. Von Bell is very old in that safety position. The defensive line is non-existent outside of Trey Hendrickson, and we can't ask him to go pick up 25 sacks a year because that's what they're pretty much telling him to do is be the solo pass rusher. So there's a lot of question marks in Cincinnati. They're not all going to get answered. A couple wins would figure them out for now if they can sneak into the postseason. But this team is absolutely no contender when you look at the AFC Championship game, when you look at even the postseason right now, and we're still talking about the Super Bowl in Cincinnati. There's some conversations that need to be had.
No doubt about it. All right, my friend, have a good day at school today and in class, allegedly, if you're off there or whatever else is going on. I love you. I'll see you later. All right, Casey, let's continue on with this.
Yep.
Look, there is no way I am going to get on Lou Anarumo's case.
No.
I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
He has proven when he has good players. And look, as much as everybody, again, people get all upset, but all you do is just look at the facts. When they got to the Super Bowl and when they got to the AFC Championship game in back-to-back years, it was the defense that made the plays. When he had players, they played.
Yeah, I don't disagree with
that. He doesn't have players.
I don't disagree with you at all. I think he's not been given a fair shake of this year and the construction and plus the injuries too. Like, we haven't still seen it at full capacity yet. We haven't seen it with Murphy, Hendrickson, and Rankins and Hill all together, right? And like I said yesterday, I feel like they play any other team, I feel like they just beat the brakes off of them. I mean, it was just Lamar being Lamar, doing Lamar-type things. Like, that was a play of the year for that final touchdown that he threw there in the back of the end zone.
Yep.
And that's you look at the rest of the games this year, and it's taking amazing plays or just, the penalty in the Chiefs game. That was just a bang, just very close, knit, tight throw. Then you think about Washington. It took a miracle throw when he was pressured with 10 guys on the field. He throws a perfect ball in the back of the end zone to Terry McLaurin. And then yesterday, it takes Lamar stiff-arming Hubbard, running
Twice.
back 15, 20 yards, running out of bounds, throwing it into the back of the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, it just takes crazy plays for these teams to beat us. And I think what it boils down to is just guys not making plays when it matters. That's all it really boils down to.
Well, I mean, the real Spirit Cat says, look, the Bengals have played to the level of their opponents every game this season. That cannot be denied. I mean, it is still – I'm not so sure at the end of the day. We can sit here and talk about a Kansas City game, talk about the Baltimore game. The bottom line is they'd be 2-3 if they don't lose to the stinking New England Patriots.
Combined.
To me, that might be the single most inexcusable loss in the Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow era. You look at yesterday, that game that team played, and basically every game since the first game of the year, right? I mean, are you kidding me? You lost to that team at home, and you can say it's old news, who gives a damn? Okay, fine. But I'm just saying, they'd be 2-3 and would actually have a home win this year, 0-3. And they lose to that stink because they're not ready to play in the season opener. They're not ready to play.
They've given up a total of 15 points. They've lost by a total of 15 points on the year. And that was the biggest loss. That was lost by 6 against the Patriots.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying.
And then Ron
It's very
Esterman says,
frustrating.
and this is a fact, the biggest problem is the Bengals find different ways to lose every week. But look, I started this whole show today talking about the text you sent to Luke and me, who is to blame. And here's what truly gets me bummed out. Because I'm no different than you. When the football, I know a lot of people say, all the time you're always beating up on the Bengals. That's fine. You know why I sit here and try to look at the facts. That's all I'm trying to do. Like you, I've watched a lot of football, called a lot of football, okay? I just report the facts. I'm not taking a pro stance on this guy. I'm not taking a pro stance on that guy. Everybody is under the microscope when you are being paid tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to do a job. The defense's job is to stop the other team from scoring. The offensive's job is, if your defense gives up 30, you got to score 35. If your defense gives up 38, you got to score 41. That's the deal. The holder, the snapper, the kicker, when they're asked to do something and maybe take away point after touchdowns, include point after touchdowns. If they're asked to do something 7 or 8 times in a game, the more times you ask them to do it perfectly, just like the offense, you take the chance of a breakdown. Right?
Right.
You take the chance of a breakdown. And asking your kicker to kick a 50-plus yard field, I don't give a damn what his numbers are in his career, and they're unbelievable in McPherson. But why do you put that kind? So yesterday you put pressure on McPherson to make a 53-yard field goal, but you didn't put any pressure on your $55 million quarterback, who's the best player on your team and arguably the best player in the league. You have him turn around and hand the ball off 3 straight times. And look, if Burrow checked out of it, maybe the reason he checked out of it, and I'm not defending his decision, but maybe because they had 9 guys jammed up on the line of scrimmage. Who is he going to throw it to?
Yeah, they didn't have I don't even think they had Jamar or T out there, right?
Well, I think Jamar was in there, but they had
Yoshi.
everybody bunched up, I think.
Yeah.
I think.
Now, Tom, you bring up a good point. I asked you this question also. What's the difference? If you trust your kicker, what's the difference between 56 and 53? I don't think there's a whole lot difference. No. And then on top of that, why aren't we kicking the field goal on 3rd down? Why aren't we trying to kick it in case something does go wrong? At least the holder could have just fallen over and hold on to the ball, and we can kick it on 4th down. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
And then you take a timeout. Now, I've always thought that icing the kicker stuff was BS. I think it is. I think it's total BS. Okay, and I bet you if you went back and looked at the stats of what they are after a timeout, right, before the kick, I mean, come on, right? These guys are paid professionals. These kickers in this day and age are unbelievable. You know, stuff's going to happen. So I'm not going to sit here and beat down the holder, the rookie punter. I'm not going to beat him down. It's going to happen. Burrow made a mistake yesterday, right? He was phenomenal. You going to beat him down? No. I'm not going to beat him down. Defense had all the chances in the world, and hell, every time he turned around, there was a breakdown. You know, and this is for me in this chair too, you can't have it both ways, right? When the Bengals draft all these players and they show up and all of a sudden the Logan Wilsons or the Jermaine Pratts of the world, or, you know, they go out in free agency and they sign originally the first time around Von Bell, right? And they bring in these guys, Hendrickson, right?
Right.
They did a good job of scouting those players to bring them in, right?
Right.
Same guys are running the draft that drafted the Geno Atkins and the Carlos Dunlaps and all those guys of the world that were pretty damn good players for a long time here, okay? They're the same people, right? With the same staff size, which is the smallest in the league. So, you know, if you're going to give them credit for all of those good things, you certainly are able to then turn around and ask the question, okay, but what have you done for me lately? These defensive picks this team has made is a complete and utter disaster.
Yeah, they had to cut one just this week.
Yeah.
A 3rd-round pick.
And I think they have, of 6 guys that were taken recently on defense, I think 1's still playing in the league.
Well, Murphy.
I'm not talking about the guy this year, but I'm just saying the guys over the last few years that they've chosen on that defensive line are out of the league.
Yeah. That's not good.
I mean, I feel so bad for Hendrickson, man. This dude is a great player. Gosh, is he a great player. And if you really just watch, in the next game, watch. You know, I mean, some of you already do it. If you just watch him on every play for 4 or 5 plays in a row, I mean, he is just going at it, man, and doing all he can to get there. And he has zero help. None. None. And again, I repeat, I don't think this season is over.
I don't either. Look at the schedule.
Well, I know, but here's the thing, okay? I think before this season started and we thought the Bengals were going to be one thing and they've turned out to be something else at 1-4. I don't know if this franchise right now, this team, not franchise, this team is in a position where they can kind of, look at another team and think, oh, that's a game we should go win. I cannot believe they're a favorite at the Giants. The Giants just went to Seattle. I think they sacked Geno Smith like 5 or 6 times yesterday, right? Daniel Jones is playing pretty good football again. This was a guy, let's not forget now, they wanted to run him out of town last year 2 years ago, he took them to the playoffs and had a hell of a year. I mean, you go back and look at those stats that Jones had 2 years ago. Threw over 20 touchdowns, only a couple of picks. He ran for 700 or 800 yards. I mean, I don't know if he's any good or not. But if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals at 1-4 and a fan of the Bengals, there is no way on God's earth I'm looking down and saying, well, we should go beat the Giants. Well, we should go beat the Browns. By the way, my friend Lance McAllister yesterday posted a text. The Bengals in their own division, and bear in mind, 2 of these years they played in the AFC Championship game. They are 10-21 against their division.
Not good. Not good. Not good at all. I mean, you go 10-21 in your division, most of the time you're probably going to get fired. Just saying. But, I mean, you look at the schedule, Tom. I mean, it's not like – I'm not going to say there's games that they for sure should win. That's not what I'm saying. But they're not out of the realm of being, like, competitive in any of these. I mean, they were competitive against the Ravens and the Chiefs. So, I mean, this team can beat anyone on any given Sunday if the defense just makes one play or if Burrow's perfect. That's really what it boils down to. If I was going to take a side versus the Giants, I would take the Bengals side because the better quarterback is Joe Burrow.
Fair.
But you look down the list, and I could do that for the next 4 games. Deshaun Watson looks miserable in Cleveland. That team is utterly atrocious. The Eagles, they're up and down.
Yep.
It'll just depend on if A.J. Brown's back and healthy again. I haven't been keeping track of that. But that offense could just tear us apart. So I'm not going to give us a win there. But then the Raiders, I mean, they're in disarray right now with Devontae Adams and possibly Max Crosby being traded. Like, all that could be easy pickings for the Bengals. And then we play the Ravens again, and we just played them like we did. I know it's hard to take the good out of that game yesterday, but we played them pretty tight, pretty close the whole game.
I don't think it's hard to take the good out of the game. I mean, there are a lot of things, especially on offense, where you say to yourself, wow. But Casey, do you think you can win every game this year, the rest of the way? Now, most of the teams that they're going to play, and especially the ones you just ripped off, right? They don't have the offensive firepower that Baltimore has. But do you need to have the offensive firepower that Baltimore has to score 30 on the Bengals? Are they going to have to score 40 a game the rest of the year? And what's a winning formula in that?
Not very good. I'm with you on that. I think the team is going to have to find some way to limit teams to 24 points or less. That's really what it boils down to. I think the offense can score anywhere between 24 to 30 points a game.
That's fair.
It's going to be a tall task ahead of them moving forward. But with the way the offensive line has been playing, the emergence of the running backs and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase being who they are, and Joe Burrow, I mean, he can be perfect. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. He can play a few games perfectly. I'm not going to count them out. I think it's done for the division. They're way behind in the division at this point. They're 2.5 games back or 3, I think. It's hard to – I don't know what the tiebreakers, how that all works exactly off the top of my head, but it does feel like they can still get back to at least 500 football and try to make a push for a wild card. Yeah. And I don't think, for me, if you make it to the wild card, it's a whole just get in because anything can happen. Anything can happen with Joe Burrow at quarterback.
There's no question about that. There is no doubt about all you have to do is if you're the other team, you ask the question, is that the guy you want to face? Now, you might say, well, we're all about facing their defense. But I don't know how our defense feels about facing that dude.
Exactly.
But, I just get worried, and it's too early to start talking about this. But I think this has passed through probably your mind and every Bengals mind. And Luke actually touched on this a minute ago. I said at the very beginning, in a business, and the Bengals' business is football. You know, let's look at what we thought 3 years ago was going to be this heyday of the Bengals franchise. This is what we were expecting to happen when they get to the Super Bowl, right? Burrow's first full healthy year, right? The next year, slight step down. AFC Championship game, but hey, it's the AFC Championship, but it is a step down from the Super Bowl. You get beat. Last year now, you have an injury to your quarterback. You don't even make the playoffs last year, and your defense takes major steps back, right? Now this year, you get your quarterback through training camp healthy. You spend this money again on the offense. Bengals in the top 5 in percentage of team payroll spent on the offense. They're in the bottom 7 of percentage of team roles spent on defense, payroll spent on defense. So, Casey, this thing's going like this.
Yeah.
It was going like this. Now, they have a chance to get it back going like this. But this is just really disappointing for everybody involved in the whole town, and that's who you feel for because, Lord knows a baseball team has let you down for so long you can't even remember when they were good, right? And with the football team, everybody around here was really, really, really excited. You, me, everybody. And now you got this.
Well, speaking of the baseball team, Tom, Terry Francona, your thoughts?
Yeah, we were off the air, or they had not named that Terry Francona was a new manager until after we had our show last week. And I have to tell you, this is Bob Castellini's last big home run swing for the fences. He's getting older. God bless him. I hope he lives to be 150. But he's getting older. He promised championship baseball in this town. This is the second manager that they have hired where it says to you, we're all about trying to win. And the first manager did that. He didn't win the World Series. The guy I'm talking about, of course, is Dusty Baker. But they brought him in here. You knew it was serious business. Okay? He gets into the playoffs in 12. They choke it off. Or in 10, they get to the playoffs. They 12, they get in, they choke it off. 13 wild card, Dusty out. And we've had the Brian Prices, who I love as a guy. David Bell, had those guys since then, and now they got the best possible guy they could get. And that's based on track record. And it's based on personality. And it's based on vibe. And it's based on everything. There's not a bad thing being said from coast to coast about Terry Francona being named as your manager. So I am elated that he's coming here. There are two things here now that have to happen. One, it's on the players. It's on the players now. Are they going to be able to stay healthy enough to perform? Okay? Because at the end of the day, Francona can't pitch for him and he can't hit for him. I think the manager is more of a big deal in baseball than a lot of people, the analytics crowd, who believes a manager's not a big deal. I totally disagree, and I think all you have to do is look at the Reds franchise for the last 40 years. The 3 best managers this franchise has had in the last 40 years all took them to the postseason. You go back to Lou Piniella. You go back to Davey Johnson. Davey Johnson was the last guy who won a playoff series here for this franchise. One of the great managers of all time, Davey Johnson. Then Dusty Baker. All these other guys that they tried to bring in here, I'm not saying they were all bad managers. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the last 3 that won are all guys that are in the Hall of Fame or will be in the Hall of Fame. Piniella, Johnson, Dusty. And now they got another guy who's going to the Hall of Fame in Francona. We'll see if it plays out. That's number 1. Number 2, this deal with Bally's could not come at a worse time for this franchise if you're trying to win. There's talk that, they're going to renegotiate this TV deal, but more than likely this thing goes from being roughly $60 million a year for the team. It's their second biggest paycheck they get. So in your business, Okay, let's say Procter & Gamble is your leading client, and let's say that Joe Blow is your second leading client. Joe Blow, you're used to him giving you $60 million a year. Now Joe Blow can only afford 20. That's what they're looking at here with the Bally's thing. Okay, their biggest client is Major League Baseball and the TV money, the national TV money. Their second biggest client is television locally. And that number is expected to drop in half, if not worse. So, they say they're sitting down, they're doing all the budgets and that kind of stuff this week. Where that ends up, I don't know. It's hard to imagine unless all the other owners just say, you know what, let's just throw a fortune at this thing and see what happens for the next 2 years or 3 years. But I don't see it happening. Maybe you do. Everybody's fired up about it, though, right?
Yeah, I think everyone was very happy with the hire. I think it's a sign that they are going in, right? That they are going to make their best effort to put a winning product on the field. Because how else are you going to get Terry Francona to join your roster if he doesn't, one, either believe in this roster that he can elevate it to the next level, or you gave him the green light to, yeah, we're going to improve this roster. So I think everyone's pretty fired up about it. I think that it's a great hire. I think that he is a good mixture of what people were looking for, while also bringing in good culture to the ball club. So very, very happy and optimistic with the hire.
And by the way, the point is made. Where is this? About Brian B. He did not win in Philadelphia, he being Terry Francona. No, he didn't, because he had terrible players. I was broadcasting in those days with the Cubs. And I mean, look at Joe Torre. Joe Torre's same thing. Joe Torre got to manage in Atlanta. He got a chance to manage in with the Mets. And he got his butt kicked all the time. Well, there's a reason why. He didn't have good players. Speaking of the baseball playoffs, San Diego clobbers the Dodgers. I didn't watch it last night. I had been gone all weekend. I wanted to spend some time with my bride. So we just hung out and watched a show and wasn't watching the Sunday night game or any of that stuff. No baseball, no nothing. But I saw some of the video this morning, and the Padres set a record for most home runs in a postseason game last night. But this Dodger pitcher's chirping, at the Padres hitters when he strikes one out after the guy had hit a home run, and then he's chirping at Machado from the dugout. I mean, look, I'm not a bat flip guy. I've never liked it, and it's fine. I mean, if that's what they want in the game today, that's fine. Pitchers have not started going crazy in gyrations on the mound when they strike out a batter. Okay? They don't do it. But now this guy yesterday, it was unbelievable watching some of that stuff. Anyway, that series is even at a game apiece going to San Diego. Philly and the Mets are even at 1. That was a wild game last night. Both series in the National League resume tomorrow night. On the American League side, the Yankees lead Kansas City 1-0, Game 2 tonight in the Bronx. And then Cleveland looks to go up 2-0 on Detroit. They will play late this afternoon up in Cleveland, Ohio. Trying to see anything here with the chat that stands out. Yeah. We're going to get to college football here in just 1 second. Okay. I'm just checking everything out. Yeah, maybe the CW ought to pick up the Reds games.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be cool. Sports Fisher says bat flips are lame. I don't like them. I just think it's bringing attention to yourself. You're supposed to be playing for your team and your city and your fans. I'm not a big bat flip guy. But again, I don't want to sound like the old man, get off my lawn. If that's what they want, okay, no problem. But sometimes what goes around comes around. I guess Terry Francona is meeting with the media today in Cincinnati. Big press conference is today at 10 o'clock.
Oh. So coming up here shortly.
Yeah. Okay, now we got college football. What an unbelievable weekend.
Fun weekend.
I mean, you had Alabama loses to Vanderbilt, truly in one of the great upsets in the history of college football. I mean, I called what I think is the greatest upset in the history of college football when you had Appalachian State beat Michigan.
Yeah.
Because that was a school that had just made the jump to the FBS from the FCS, and they beat them the season opener, right? But, I mean, Vanderbilt, I tell you, they're pretty good. And that quarterback, that kid is fun to watch, man. They are not a pushover. Anyway, they beat Alabama. You have Tennessee, who looks like they're going to score 50 points a game. They can't even get a first down in that game against Arkansas. They lose, okay? So there's 2 top 5 teams. And then Missouri, we said they were overrated. We said this team was overrated. And I mean, my Lord, it's one thing to get beat. But they got destroyed by Texas A&M. And the biggest winner in that deal is Notre Dame. Because Notre Dame went and beat Texas A&M in College Station, right?
Right.
Okay, now, yes, they lost to Northern Illinois the next week, but that's their only loss. Irish are back in the top 10. In the new polls, you have Texas number 1. That's where they should be. Although that should change this week if number 2 Ohio State wins at number 3 Oregon. You have number 4 Penn State. And Penn State goes on the road and plays USC. I don't think USC is very good on the road, but they're pretty good at home. And then you have Georgia number 5. But that game, Ohio State and Oregon, Saturday night, 7:30 NBC, that is a big-time game. Buckeyes started a little slow this weekend. They were up 7-0 at halftime against Iowa. But then before you blink your eye, they score 28. Their defense is insane, but they're playing a quarterback in Dylan Gabriel who is mighty good. But Ohio State's mighty good. I was out there, I was telling a story with Casey and Reed earlier. I had the season opener, my season opener on the CW network was Oregon State, first game of the year. And that's in Corvallis, which is about an hour drive from Eugene. And Eugene is the airport where you fly in and out of to get to that part of the country. And after the game on the Saturday, I went back and checked in another hotel in Eugene because I was leaving at 5 o'clock the next morning. And so it was also the same day when Oregon opened its season at home. And so there were like 300 or 400 people in this hotel lobby. And I'd driven in after the game. I go downstairs to get a pizza, have a beer. I'm sitting there. There are all these Oregon fans around me, and we get to start talking about Ohio State coming out there. And I guess at Autzen Stadium, where Oregon plays, they have this deal for tickets to make it affordable for people who maybe can't go to games, where they have like this deal on the top 4 rows, kind of like the Reds used to have the top 6. Maybe they still have it. But those tickets go for like $25, something like that. 6 weeks ago, people were telling me that those top 4 tickets for Ohio State coming to town, $700.
Oh.
And that was before the season started. And now both teams are undefeated. One's ranked 2nd, the other's ranked 3rd. They say this is the biggest game that has ever been played in the history of the University of Oregon football.
Don't doubt that.
That's a big-time game. I can't wait to check it out, although I have a bad feeling that I'm going to be traveling during that entire game. Although a lot of planes now you can watch stuff.
Yeah, they've got like Wi-Fi. You
Yeah,
might have to pay a
but
little
not
extra
every
for
one
it,
of them.
but-
But not every one of them. Blackmore says Oregon rolls Ohio State. You believe that?
No, I don't believe that for 1 second. I think Ohio State's going to easily win, but that's just my opinion.
I don't know about easily win. But there's some good games this week. It's going to get better and better. UC had the week off, as you know. They'll be playing at UCF. All right, we got about 3 minutes left, Casey, before we hand it over to the guys on Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I want you to, let's don't leave the show today on a downer. Okay? Let's don't leave it on a downer with the Bengals. Everybody's already bummed out enough.
Yeah.
Do you think on Sunday night, the Bengals go and win in the Meadowlands against Daniel Jones and the G-Man, the New York Football Giants?
Yes, absolutely.
Why?
For many reasons, but mainly because the quarterback battle, I mean, it's Joe Burrow versus Daniel Jones, and I think Joe Burrow's the better quarterback. I think he'll get it done.
Okay.
I think when you've looked at the last few games, if you would have told me that the Bengals were 2-3 out of this stretch, I think that would have been believable. I think the one loss to the Patriots is so glaring right now. But
no
it would have felt so much different if we would have won that and we were 2-3, because I don't know how many people actually had the Bengals beating the Ravens to begin with at the beginning of the year. I don't know how many people actually had them beating the Chiefs at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, that's fair on the road.
So like I for me, I think that we're gonna really overreact to this game because how important it is just for the long run of the season.
Yep.
But again, you just look at the schedule, and I know you can't just pencil in wins anymore, but those games are all like the Bengals can beat any given team on any given Sunday.
No doubt.
They're not the worst team in the NFL. They've went toe-to-toe with the two best teams in the NFL and barely lost.
True.
Barely lost to both teams. So I feel like, and also Commanders, they might be one of the best teams in the NFC. So let's just try to think about it from just take a step back a little bit.
Okay.
And relax.
All right.
Just relax a little bit.
I like that. All right. Want to thank Luke. Want to thank you, as always, coming in extra early to do our shows on Monday morning. So thank you, Casey. Want to thank all of you. We had hundreds in the chat today, and every one of you contributing mightily. So we thank everybody, Real Spirit Cat, Everett, Brian B., Mark Fetters, Molly has been here all day today, Blackmore, Mouse Cop. I mean, there's so many more. Marcus Moore, Mason Mitchell, Randy Gillespie, Sports Fisher, on and on, Roger Swinney. I thank everybody. I can't name every single one. Matt Bailey, Optimistic John. That's what we need to end on, Optimistic John. Because we need some optimism around this place because it's pretty dark around here today. And was dark around the town yesterday. All right. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Coming up next, we'll look forward to seeing you again on Thursday. Have a great week.